Howdy, Lark and Rose here. Time for fifth, kind of lost count. Yeah, I think fifth keyboard lesson. So, as promised, I'm going to show you an actual song to play today that all of you have heard of, whether you like it or not. I actually don't particularly like it, but with the chords I showed you before, it's probably the most well-known song in the world that just uses those four chords. So we're going to do that. But the focus isn't just to learn one song, because to me that's sort of a waste of time. As far as when you're, on your way to learning to play the keyboard, learning one song rather than learning how to figure out basically all the songs that there are is kind of counterproductive. So what we're going to use this song for is an exercise in using both hands at once, because that's something that takes practice if you're not used to it. Because it's multitasking, especially when your two hands are doing two completely different things. Now, it gets more and more complicated as you go along. There can be very simple things, like if both hands are just going, like you make a chord and you're pressing down everything at the same time with both hands. That's fairly easy to keep up with. It's when your hands are doing two different things that you have to do the multitasking routine. Now, the way I usually do it is learn the part for one hand and do it over and over and over again until you can do it without paying attention. Basically put it on autopilot and then try to do learn the other part. Like learn the part separately and then get one to the point where it's doing it by itself, where you hardly have to pay any attention. It's sort of, second nature, and then add the other one. Okay, now, as you may have noticed, the keyboard in front of me is now a weird rainbowy thing because I marked colors on the keys. If you look closely, you will see that C major, the chord, is marked in red. These are washable. If I touch them too many times, it'll just smear off. But the red marks C major. The purple, up between the black notes, the purple marks A minor. These are the same four chords I did in the last lesson. Green marks F. And blue marks G. Again, if I don't specify whether it's major or minor, that means it's major. So, there are the chords. Now, you can get to the point where you can picture these patterns in your head while you're playing. So while you're playing one chord, you picture where the next pattern is and can just move to that no matter where you are. Okay, so let's do the song. I didn't actually listen to it. I haven't heard it in years. So I'm probably going to play it not exactly right, and I don't exactly care. In fact, I exactly don't care. Starts with C major. Now, I'm gonna have you practice very easy two-handed things. So to begin with, I want you to do, this is called a fifth. I shouldn't even call it that yet because I have to explain why. And it's really weird. Just like the naming conventions are weird and why would you call that a fifth when there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes in between? So it's kind of like 7 notes up from there. Well, it's called a fifth because of the way you count. We're going to get into that later. Don't bother now. Left hand holding a C and a G. So this is going to be fairly easy. Right hand, here's C major. Here's the first inversion going up. But I want you to do these two notes of the inversion and then the low one. Whoops, I already forgot how the song goes. I'm thinking of the wrong song. And I find myself in times of trouble. Let It Be by the Beatles, who I'll offend some people by saying I think they're overrated band. Let It Be by the Beatles, the whole dang song is these 4 chords. It goes C major, G major, notice I'm on the blues, A minor, that's the greens, F, oh sorry, A minor is blues, is purples. I'm already botching it up. F is the greens, back to C, to G, the blue pattern. Then it does this weird thing. Okay, now we're going to do that piece by piece, but mainly what we're doing here is a left-hand practice thing. Again, I'm probably not even playing it the way they play it, and I don't nearly care. Oh, incidentally, it's worth pointing out, you can play the chords in the wrong place and the melody still goes along with it. So it can be, when I find myself in times of trouble, or when I find myself in times of trouble. It doesn't matter where you are, because picture the chord as the whole chord up and down the whole keyboard. So the way they actually do it is probably... I haven't heard the song in a million years. So I'm not teaching you the technical way to do the song, but I'm doing a finger exercise, two-handed, that is the song anyway. So if you want to sing along, that's another multitasking thing to train your brain to do. Is if you get to the point where you can play enough on the keyboard that you can sing the melody while playing the other thing without messing it up, then do. Good for you. Now, the hard thing about multitasking is when your hands are doing 2 different things in 2 different times. So I'm going to make them do exactly that. First, we'll do the easy one. Again, there's a C and a G in the bass, and left hand. It's not really bass. We'll do one note at a time since we're just starting 2 hands. So our left hand for now is going to be super lazy, 1 note at a time. But watch the right hand. So the right hand's going, it's the first inversion of a C major, and you're just going back and forth between the top 2 notes and that one. Do it twice, and then move to there. This is a G major. See, there's the G major. It's the first inversion down. Now, remember what I said about you often play a song in whatever inversion of the chord is about where you already were. So you're not going... You're about there, and then you move to there. So that's A minor. Notice it's everything just moving up 1 from the G. And then F. So there's the normal F chord, and there's F in the bass. So far it's C, first inversion, G, first inversion down, A minor, F, back to C, back to G, and then this weird thing. Okay, practice just that, because this is one of those things, if you're not used to having your fingers do different things, it's a little bit weird. I'll show you the right hand first. It's just an F major, like the normal chord, but you're going to hold your pinky down, and the other 2 fingers are just going to walk down like this. So it's actually all on the F chord, but that's just a little thing the piano part does. So it's C, G, A minor, C, G, and then the weird F thing. Okay, I'm gonna shut off the extra weird voice because I want to be able to go lower without it sounding weird. So, now I'm going to give you something to do that'll annoy you. I want your left hand for each chord to just go which is the original note, a C, nice and low so it's not in the way of your right hand. C, G, and then the C above that. So you're just going, but with these fingers. Pinky, pointer, thumb, pointer. Practice that. We're not even going to change chords to begin with, because right now we're just practicing the two-handed multitasking. Even this is going to feel really weird the first time you do it. So I want your right hand doing what it does at the beginning, a G and a C, and down to the E. While your left hand goes, I should play it up here because it sounds too low and obnoxious. See if you can do that. Now, there's only a slight difference in pattern because this one is going back and forth between two things, and this one is, like this pattern is 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. This pattern is only 2. So this one happens twice for every time this one goes all the way through. To begin with, even that might feel annoying. Okay, now I want to annoy you more. I want your left hand to do the same pattern but move it down to a G. So the right hand is going to go from this to that inversion of a G, but doing this thing. So try just that and go back and forth between them, which looks really simple and it'll feel really awkward for a while. Again, this isn't just about learning this song. When you train your hands to be able to multitask and do different things at the same time, you can do every song in the world. And you're already going to have to be looking back and forth and lose track of, because when you're not used to doing it, you have to look where you're reaching for, and to get from here to there, if you're not used to just doing it by feel, you'll do this, and then have to look at where your right hand goes and look at where your left hand goes, and because you only have one set of eyeballs, you're going to be looking back and forth unless you get used to the feel. So, here's what I want you to do about that. Skip the left hand for a minute. With the right hand, do this thing. And then you're going to the G. All the G is you're keeping the middle note the same, but the top and bottom are going down one. So it goes from this to that. Do that with your eyes closed. And for a while, it'll go because you won't be used to how far the step is. You'll step too far or not far enough. But go back and forth between just those first two patterns until you can do it while looking away. Because when you can do that, then when you add the left hand back in, you can look at the left hand, because to jump from here to there without looking is a lot harder than going from there to that. So we'll let you look at the left hand. So remember the left hand part. And then just go back and forth between those chords for a while. You can pause this video to practice going back and forth between those. Now, from the G, so it goes C, that inversion, then G. To go to A minor, literally you're just moving the whole pattern up a note and doing the same thing. So watch. Here's the C. Here's the G. Here's the A minor. Notice all I did was move everything up a note. Now, to go to the F, well, let's try those three before I overwhelm your brain. C, G, A minor. Now to move to the F, the only thing that's changing in the right hand is the thumb is coming up. See the greens? The greens are F major. And this has to move down too. So, and if you want to, you can pause this and practice each one at a time. C, G, A minor, F. Now notice this is an inversion of A minor. Here's the A minor, here's the first inversion down, which is really close to being an F major. All you do is bring your thumb up and then it's F major. Notice the greens are F major. Purples are A minor. They have these two notes in common. A minor, F major. So starting from the beginning, A minor, F, back to C, and then it does a weird thing. It doesn't go A minor and F again. So it goes C, G, A minor, F. And it starts over C, G, but then it does this weird thing. So practice, pause and practice if you want to. C, G, A minor, F, C, G, and then this thing. Notice this thumb and the left hand part and this thumb are doing the same thing but an octave apart. Remember to hold this with your pinky so it goes. So those notes are just doing that. And start over. Okay, now, the more you do it, you'll notice, you'll notice that you can stop paying attention to one hand or the other. Now, eventually you get to the point where you don't have to pay attention to either one. Even the multitask becomes automated so that you could sing at the same time or you can have a conversation with somebody. Even just the simple thing I just showed you, in fact, do that as an exercise, a really frustrating exercise. If you can get to the point where you can do this, A minor, F, see if you can literally just say a sentence while doing that. Once upon a time, there was a giant blue aardvark that ate lots of cheeseburgers. Because it really is, there really is a different part of your brain that runs the automatic things that you've done enough times that you don't have to pay attention to it. But the first time you try it, it'll be tripping because it's trying to use your conscious, immediate, focused brain to do it. And if you focus your brain on something else, you crash. And you'll notice, like musicians on stage who are professional musicians, they can be playing a guitar part and walk over to somebody else and have a discussion about something while playing their part. Or just the people who are, playing two different things and singing. I really wish I had a huge MIDI foot pedal thing. You can have basically a really big keyboard that you can use with your feet. And I've done things where I've used them, so a foot's doing one thing, the other foot's doing the damper pedal, both hands are doing two different parts on the keyboard and singing at the same time. And the thing is, it seems miraculous, except when you train your brain to just do the subroutines by itself, sort of as a background task, to use computer lingo, you can get to the point where it's just automatic and it just happens, and you're not trying that hard. But you have to just make your brain do it. Basically, you have to do it with your focused brain enough times that your unfocused automatic subroutines learn how to do it and can do it for you. So again, here's where we are so far. C. So that's a happy little pattern to do. It also demonstrates, notice that what I'm playing here is just the notes in the chord. Now, the melody does something else. So the melody wanders around. It doesn't just stick to the notes in the chord. At some point, not at the moment because we're doing enough confusing stuff, but I'll show you some melodies and how they wander around, but they're often right around or landing on notes in the chord. They just do things in between too. But they're mostly around the notes in the chord. But for now, we'll stick to our two-hand exercise. So, okay, now, if you're starting to get used to that, I'll mess you up by making you do something else. Again, I want to remind you, I do that on purpose. Your brain is supposed to feel tripped up and challenged. Like, don't be frustrated or annoyed. You literally have to go through that phase. So if I do things that make your brain have to try too hard, that's exactly what I'm trying to do and exactly what you have to go through to train your brain to be able to do these things. Like, nobody can do it the first time they try it. So, here's a very simple exercise. We're going to take a break from Let It Be for a minute. Pick two notes. I'm going to pick two C notes. And to begin with, you're just going like this with the right hand. Oh, this isn't even melodic or musical. And do it half as fast with the left hand. Okay, seems stupidly simple. Now reverse it so the left hand's doing it twice as fast. Whoops. I thought of a different thing and then botched it up. So do it double time with the right, then double time with the left. Back to double time with the right. Notice how even that probably feels really awkward and stupid if you can't do it right away. Because it's like, how can anything be this simple and this difficult? Switch. Switch. All right, now here's something to make your brain explode. Now, this is kind of unfair. This counts as extra credit. This is doing 3 beats on one hand to 2 beats on the other. Whoops. Whoops, that's 3 to 4, sorry. Okay, that's really dang weird if you're not used to it. So that's extra credit. Don't worry if that was too weird to do. And again, if it feels like, well, this is difficult even with something that simple, it's a matter of counter rhythms. It's not any more difficult to go. It's the same rhythm pattern. You're just hitting more notes at the same time. So even these very basic exercises can quickly let you do stuff that's actually like interesting and complex, but you have to get used to being able to train your two hands to do two different things. All right, back to Let It Be. Let's crash into this again. I'm going to show you one other part of the song. I don't even know it well enough to know if there's anything other than these two parts. So there's the verse. Well, the verse is also the chorus. But then it drops to a pattern. It's still just these 4 chords, but it changes the order of them. So C, G, A minor, F major, C, G, F with the weird descending thing. All that is A minor, G, F, and back to C. Now, I'm going to point these things out as we do these lessons, assuming there even will be any more of them. Notice the sound of the minor when it drops to that. So it's being sort of happy. Dropping to the minor suddenly sounds serious. And then it jumps out of that to a major, but... And then it does the same ending it did for the first part. So it only goes to that weird A minor thing for a second. So, I'll just point these out again. Again, you can pause it and practice it. C, G, A minor, F, back to C, G, weird F with the descending thing. All right, A minor, G, F, C, and then back to the same pattern. Now, obviously this left-hand part is really dang simple, but training your brain to do two different things with two different hands, like getting it to do anything at all different in the two hands is the hard starting point. After that, you can do more and more complex things. In fact, I'll give you a few finger exercises to make your head explode. You remember these things. Call that pattern 1. Again, that's... Call that pattern 2. And I'll call this pattern 3. Okay, I'm going to keep calling those pattern 1, 2, and 3. I know they're like stupidly simple things, but they're a weird enough pattern that they're a good brain training exercise. So, with the left hand, I want you to go between A and E. And with the right hand, I want you to do pattern 1. And then pattern 2. Pattern 3. Notice the right hand is doing notes twice as fast as the left. That's on purpose, because it's a brain exercise. If it was, it's too easy because at least both hands are going at the same time. This one, the right hand is going twice as fast. So, first pattern. Second pattern. Third pattern. First pattern. Second pattern. First pattern. Third pattern. First pattern. Then go like this. Okay, just kidding. But as you get used to doing two different hands in two different times, your brain will have to sort of automate one of the things, like make a subroutine going like that. Okay? But to play the piano, you have to be able to do that because most songs aren't both hands doing things at the same time in the same tempo. I already admitted before that when I write stuff and play stuff, my left hand tends to be fairly lazy. I don't do ridiculously intricate stuff left-handed. Never bothered to learn. I could, but it would take time and effort, and I've just never cared. And if you don't care, don't do it. If you don't care about like getting your right hand to be able to do fast stuff, don't do that either. Like, do whatever's actually fun. Now, as you may notice, you can already play something that sounds like a song without doing anything remotely close to fancy. Now, one thing you can do is if you watch music videos where they're playing a piano, usually on a piano when they show it in the video and you can see the hands moving, usually they're actually showing what they're playing. Often on keyboards or guitar, they do a video and they're not even playing what you're hearing, which makes it pointless to try to learn anything from that. But if you watch, think of some famous musician you like who plays the piano and watch them play, and a lot of time you'll see they're actually doing pretty dang simple stuff. It's worth pointing out that usually they're not playing the melody themselves. Like in Let It Be, they don't play the melody with the piano, they play the accompaniment, which means the music that goes along with the melody and complements it, and vice versa. So, now that we have our little two-hand thing for Let It Be, G, A minor, F, I'm doing it too fast to not waste time, C, G, this weird thing, and then it goes back to that and does it again, but then it does the A minor thing, G, F, C, then it ends the same way the first part did, C, G, now, the more you get to be able to do that, by the way, another phenomenon you're totally going to see, I still see it today. I have this weird habit of writing songs I can just barely play. I like to make them complex enough that I can just barely play them. And I practice and I mess up a billion times. And then I play them and I finally get to where I can play them. And then they seem so easy that thinking back, I go, why was that ever a challenge? This is stupidly simple. Is this all it was? You will totally feel that the more you practice stuff, where at first you have to really concentrate and then you can do it like with your eyes closed and without even paying attention and stuff. So, but I'll add you some challenges because you may either, you already are, or you'll quickly get to the point where this feels sort of, okay, that's stupidly simple to the point of getting boring. Now try to do it where most of the time you're looking away. See how much of it you can do without actually looking at the keyboard. And then see if you can do the whole thing with your eyes closed. In fact, the jump back I may botch up. I'll try it with my eyes closed. Yay, I did it. Doing the big jumps, like jumping a fifth, like jumping a whole bunch of notes at once with your eyes closed is obviously the hardest part. But when you get used to the feel of it and where the chords are, you can picture the chords in your head without even looking at the keyboard. And that's why it's so important to memorize the patterns, which I've now worn off of most of my keyboard, the patterns of the different chords so that you know where you're going. You can picture in your head okay, if this is a C, first inversion down, then that's going to be a G, and you can do it without even looking at the keyboard, without seeing where they are, because you have a virtual keyboard in your head that you're referring to, so you can do it in the dark. I've played in bands before a billion years ago where there was no lighting on the stage, and I had to play my part basically in the dark, and I was like, okay, I hope I'm hitting the right notes, but I can't actually see my dang keyboard. But I encourage you to do things that make it harder and harder to actually do it, to do it. For example, one is with your eyes closed. Another is see if you can say a sentence while doing this. See if you can talk while doing this. Which the first time you try it is going to feel really weird and stupid because it doesn't look like it should take that much effort. But it does until you get used to it. Then the next step, like that takes a moderate amount of outside focus, like focusing on something other than playing. have a conversation with somebody where you actually have to respond to what they're saying, because that takes more of your brain focus. And if you can do that while having while playing the part and keeping in time and everything, that means that you're assigning your brain, whoops, I missed, the tasks of doing it automatically, having them on autopilot. And to begin with, if you can get one hand to do autopilot and focus on the other hand, that's enough to be able to play a two-hand part. But eventually you can get them so both are doing it on autopilot. And so much, here, I'm going to show you this example. So much of it is just about getting your brain used to it. And there's still, like, a weird pattern will come up that, to me, I'm not used to playing that particular pattern, so to me it feels weird. Oh, you're not going to be able to see this because it's... Let me see if I can just wrench this. Ah! After a minor catastrophe, I managed to move the thing. Because I wanted to do this demonstration of a thing in a song I wrote that it's actually one of the things Amanda and I are going to perform in May. That's just a weird enough timing that the first few times I tried it, I couldn't do it. I was spazzing out. Having played keyboard for 40 years or whatever, and it's a simple thing. And if you look at it, it looks really simple. But when the timing is weird enough that you're not used to it, even a simple thing, if your brain doesn't have a groove that knows how to do that, can be a challenge. So now, I programmed this keyboard so different voices show up and different sounds show up in different places on the keyboard. So down here, it's like low, chunky strings. And here, it's a Stradivarius with a hammered dulcimer and a reed over in the other speaker. So so I wrote this, and I was like, why can't I play these two parts? They're both stupidly simple. So just the slightly weird beat going against something that isn't doing that. Takes a while before you can autopilot one hand and then autopilot both hands, because now I can do it without paying attention to either hand. But I wanted to point that out as an example of something that I had to train myself to learn, like whenever we wrote it a couple of years ago. Even though it's really simple, it's not like a really complicated interweaving thing. It's just the rhythm. It isn't a steady, it isn't on the beat. The second part is an offbeat thing. It's weird enough that I had to practice for a while before my left hand wouldn't go. Because it's not on the on beat. It's instead of... Because if something's a steady, obvious pattern, it's easier to program it into your brain as a subroutine to do on autopilot. But if it's a little bit weird, it suddenly gets way harder. So I thought I'd do that as an example of a thing that even I still have to make a groove by doing something enough times that, okay, now my two hands know how to do it. That's the other part. That's the part that Amanda plays over there on the same keyboard. Okay, never mind. That was just pointless noise. So The let it be thing, you can practice that. You can also practice just timing things. You don't even need a keyboard to practice the timing things. Like, you can practice on your belly. Try to do 2 different rhythms. I mean, to begin with, it can just be, so one's going twice as fast as the other one, and then switch it. Switch it back. Even that, in fact, I even sort of have to focus on something that stupidly simple. And that's the thing, is even, you know, a hell of a lot of keyboard and piano players, when they grab a new song, they still have to do it enough times that, especially if there's some weird pattern of notes they're not used to playing, they have to do it enough times to get it in their brain to do it right. For example, here I'll show you this. I'll show you the pattern I was just doing, just the right hand, never mind the weird syncopated thing, because it's a good exercise because of how it ends. Now, obviously, don't do it this low on a piano or it'll just sound like thunder. I just have it programmed so down here they're actually high voices. I'll tell you what the chords are, but they don't really matter. But watch the notes. So you find 2 black notes. So this is the note E, and that's the G. So it goes G, E, B. Then it goes F sharp, D, B. So it's... The weird thing is, then it goes, which is A, C sharp, E, B. The reason that's weird is your brain is starting with a pattern that just goes dunk, 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 and then it reverses it in the middle. So it's top, middle, low, top, middle, low, low, middle, top, high. So I'm using this example because even doing that is a pattern that your brain is going to want to go, because it's used to doing top, middle, down, top, middle, down, top, middle, down. And it reverses at the bottom. Top, middle, down, bottom, middle, up, and ends on a B. And then it does the same thing but a different pattern. Top, middle, down, bottom, middle, top. Practice just, here, I'll show you the second part of the pattern in slow motion so you can mimic it. But for this, really the timing, like the exact notes don't even matter that much, but training your brain to be able to do a pattern like reverse in the middle of it, which is not, it's not what you naturally want to do. If you're going like that, you want to keep going like that, but it doesn't. It goes top, middle, down, bottom, middle, top. You can slow this down to see the notes. And the second part is, oops. So this is C minor, D major, B minor, but going from the bottom up, ending on E. So together there. I should have written that as a finger exercise. I just wrote it as part of a song. But it's actually a really good finger exercise because of the change in direction, and you have to keep track of the chords and notes. So I'm gonna end on this. I'm gonna go through it again. But this is actually a good finger exercise, you know, apart from whether you actually like the music. I'll do it slow motion so you can see. So again, the first 2 passes are top going down. You can practice just that part and see how quickly you can do it flowing and do it faster and faster, even to the point where it kind of sounds stupid, but to see if you can get your fingers to do it that fast. But the fact that it reverses in the middle is something that goes against what you're going to instinctively want to do. For extra credit. If you can add the left hand in, you get a gold star. So that's the thing to practice, and you can practice Let It Be, and you can practice literally just the rhythms of 2 different hands, even without a keyboard. Just like even something as simple as one hand doing double and then switch it. Even that messes people up. And like drummers have to do amazingly complex. I mean, sometimes they just do ridiculously simple stuff, but good drummers can do amazingly complicated stuff that requires switching the rhythm of which hand is doing which, so you can actually get the drumstick to whatever it's supposed to be at next. So often you can learn the pattern thing without even an instrument, without even involving actual notes. But okay, I guess that's enough for now. That's enough of homework you have, is a song and some finger exercises and whatever else. And so yeehaw. I don't know if there will be a 6th lesson. If there's enough interest and enough people donating, then I'll make and post another one. And if not, that's fine too. And I just won't. I'll do something else. So go practice.